Hey folks, this is Kyle Wilkinson with Ellensburg Angler. On today's episode of the fly tying series, we will be tying a WD-40 Nymph. We will be tying this nymph in an olive color. As we move here into April and into May, we will start seeing more bluing olives start popping off and hatching. And this WD-40 in this color, in the smaller size, will imitate that bluing olive nymph subsurface before those insects start to hatch. So those fish are going to be looking for small olive colored nymphs bouncing along the bottom, and this WD-40 is a perfect pattern to match that. In the hook today, in the vise today, I have a size 18 scud hook. I've already smashed the barb, and I just have this silver bead to match the size of the hook. It might be a little bit larger, but that's okay because it's going to help your fly sink down to the level that the fish are at near the bottom. This is going to be a pretty simple tie. We're only going to need a few materials, but we'll go ahead and let's get started. For thread today, I'm going to be using some 8/0 olive unithread, and I'm going to start tying my thread onto the hook right behind the bead. I'm going to work this thread all the way down into the bend of the hook. I'm going to go ahead and cut my excess off. I'm going to keep going. Go ahead and go further into the bend of the hook than you think you need to, where it really starts to get that bend in there. I'm going to go ahead and tie my tail in, and for my tail today, I'm going to go ahead and use some olive schlappen. I'm just going to take a few of these fibers, something about like that right there. I'm just going to rip them off of the stem here. And you see how all of the points of my fibers are pointing up. I'm going to go ahead and just twirl my fingers and get all those fibers pointing different directions. So you see the tips are pointing different ways now. I'm going to go ahead and tie these tips going out the back of the hook. Capture it on top here. I'm just going to do 2 light wraps. So you can see now I've got these kind of the butt end of the fibers, and I've got these tips down here. I'm going to go ahead making sure I have tension on my bobbin. I'm just going to pull these stems towards the front of the fly and let these tail fibers slowly get closer to the hook. So now it looks something about like that. That's still a little bit longer than I want. I'm going to pull these fibers just a little bit more. So it's about like that. So you're looking at the length of your tail is going to be about the length of your hook shank that you just wrapped your thread on. So now that I've got the desired length of the tail, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple tight wraps with my thread. And I'm going to grab this butt end of these fibers, hold it tight and pull it forward, and I'm just going to wrap over these fibers back towards the bead. Once I get behind the bead, I'm going to go ahead and trim my excess off. And now what I'm going to do is just go over this entire body, working my way all the way back, covering up that stem, all the way back to the base of the tail. So it looks something like that. I'm just going to go up and down this hook shank a couple times. All the way up behind the bead, all the way back down into the bend of the hook, all the way back up, and all the way. I'm going to go not quite all the way down this time, and then I'm going to come back up. And then the next time I go back down, I'm going to stop my tying thread just before where I stopped last time. So what I'm doing is I'm building up, I'm tapering my body, my fly, so it's a little bit thicker up towards the front and a little bit thinner down towards the back. I'm going to do it one more time here. Come back up just to the base behind my bead. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some olive colored dubbing, this guy right here, and take a little pinch of this off. I'm going to dub it right onto my tying thread. I'm going to wrap that right behind the bead of the hook so it builds up a nice little thorax. And then I'm going to take my whip finish. I'm going to do 2 sets of whip finishes right behind that bead. Make sure that bead's seated neatly. Do another set right here. Take my scissors, cut that tying thread, and that's it. That is the WD-40 Nymph in olive. A really quick tie, highly effective. It's super small, but those fish can see that. And again, this is going to imitate those blueing olive nymphs as they're bouncing along the bottom before they make their journey to the surface to hatch. You can tie this pattern in a bunch of different colors and a bunch of different sizes. You can tie it in black, you can tie it into red, you can tie it into brown. Olive is an all-around good color to fish all year, but it really imitates those blueing olives. You can even fish a different colored bead, or you can tie them without a bead. Whatever your preference is, whatever you're trying to imitate. You can fish this WD-40 by itself. It is fairly light, so it would be very difficult to get down super deep. But you can fish this as a trailer behind a larger fly, like a Pat stone fly or a 20-incher stone, or even a tungsten pheasant tail or a tungsten hare's ear. You can fish this under an indicator. That is the WD-40 Nymph in olive. We want to thank you guys for watching today's episode of the fly tying series. We hope you are all staying safe and staying healthy during this time. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. That'll let you know whenever we upload another one of these fly tying videos. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. Have a good one.